Recently, there was an article about a new way that hackers could realistically spoof any website domain unless you look closely. The article's authors show this example they made, where the real domain for the link is this part way over here. Yes, after the slashes. And besides some odd-looking international characters in this underscore looking thing, it mostly looks like this part on the left is the primary domain, but it's not. Importantly though, it's actually possible to put whatever you want there, even google.com, and while Google Chrome does show a lookalike warning for some big sites like google.com, it doesn't show for all sites. And it still doesn't show the ASCII version of the domain like it does for previously known lookalike spoofs. Also, other browsers might not show a warning at all. Firefox does actually have a setting to prevent this, but Chrome does not. So I actually created a simple Chrome extension that I'll talk about later that warns you about any domains that have any international characters in it. First, let me explain how this trick actually works so you can watch out for it. It basically uses so-called right-to-left international characters, which are used in languages that read from right to left, and uses them to mess with how the domain is displayed. You might actually remember I made a video about something similar with file names in Windows and how those types of characters can be used to obscure the true file extension of files. Anyway, the authors started by registering a domain with Hebrew characters because that language inherently displays from right to left. And here, the part on the left is actually the domain extension, the equivalent to .com or .net. And the character on the right is the hostname. So yes, they got one with just one character, but it could be anything. Then they added a couple subdomains, which looks like the main domain. However, because of the periods, you can still tell that it's a subdomain. But here's where it gets interesting. For this example, they added this Arabic character as part of the path, meaning if it was a regular domain, it would actually all look like this, with the path showing after some slash. But because of the way the right to left stuff works, it unexpectedly shows it between the main domain and the subdomain. So yes, while it does still look kind of weird, depending on what domain a hacker might choose or other stuff they might add, it could be made even more convincing. Now, browsers are supposed to have protections against lookalike domains like this, but obviously it fails here. You see, when registering these international domain names that have non-Roman characters, since technically domain names don't support those characters, those domains actually get registered using this special XN syntax, which is called Unicode, where the Unicode characters are basically encoded as regular characters, and then the browser can convert and display it with the Unicode characters if it needs to. But the true domain is the XN version. And then browsers have an algorithm that decides whether or not to display the domain with the Unicode characters or the Punicode version. And that's because years ago, someone showed that you could just register a site that used Unicode characters like this Cyrillic A and looked exactly like apple.com. So from that point on, for sites like that, which resemble popular sites, the browser is meant to show the Punicode version in the address bar, so it's obvious. But in this case, obviously, it's not foolproof. And there's no way to force Chrome to always show the Punicode version of the domain. Now, Firefox actually does have an option called Network IDN Show Punicode, which makes it so domains that have a Unicode character in them always do show as the Punicode version, but Chrome has no such option, which is crazy. And I would definitely enable it if it did, because I basically never see sites that have Unicode in them, so I'd want to know. And for that reason, I created a simple free Chrome extension myself called Unicode Domain Warning that simply shows a warning banner for any domains that contain international characters, which should help avoid any kind of spoofing sites like this. Now, before I continue, something else that's helpful is from today's sponsor, Ugreen, and that's their new Ugreen NASSync DH2300, a network-attached storage device that's like having your own personal cloud for backups and more right on your local network using your own hard drives. It has wide compatibility with third-party hard drives up to 30 terabytes each, so with 2 drive bays, that means a total capacity of up to 60 terabytes. The setup process is easy too, it takes less than 10 minutes, and it also has advanced options for those who want it. And when you set up the drives using RAID redundancy as recommended, all your data is always copied to both drives simultaneously, so your data is safe even if one drive fails. Plus, with the Ugreen NASSync mobile app, not only can you manage the NAS and its settings remotely or locally, but also set up automatic backup of your iPhone's photo albums. You can also set up Time Machine folders for automatic backups of your Mac too. And the app itself can easily be found by just tapping the NFC point with your phone on the front of the device here. In the web interface, there's also a bunch of apps you can install, like for storing your media where it can be accessed or streamed to other devices on your network, as well as the ability to set up multiple accounts and permissions. It's got good connectivity too, with 2 USB 3.2 ports, an HDMI port, and gigabit Ethernet. And since you can back up files right through your local network, you'll get the full gigabit speed. And it's a lot faster than a typical upload speed of Google Drive, for example, even if you have a gigabit internet plan. So be sure to check out the link in the description and check out the Ugreen NASSync DH2300 and use the code for 15% off. And with all that being said, let's continue. So with my Chrome extension, it just shows a warning banner for any domain that contains Unicode characters and shows what the true Unicode version of the domain is. It's actually my first extension that I've published on the Chrome Web Store, and I'll put a link to it in the description. It's very simple, literally just 2 buttons. The dismiss button hides the banner on that domain for that session, meaning until you close that tab or open a new tab, or you can whitelist the domain to never show the banner on that one again. If you whitelist a domain, you can see the list of those by right-clicking the extension icon in the toolbar and then going to the extension options. And then from there, you can just remove any from your whitelist if you want. And to be clear, this extension makes no judgment about the safety of any sites or whether they're dangerous or not. The banner is not meant as a "this site is bad" warning. It literally just tells you if it has certain characters, which very well may be legitimate. It's basically meant for people from a country who almost never come across internationalized domain names like myself. So if I do, I just want to know about it, just in case it's got a character in there that is meant to trick you. And by the way, I do want to keep the extension as simple as possible, so I'm sure some of you might have some feature ideas, but I don't really plan to add any additional features. Anyway, the extension does work for both domains and subdomains. Like I have an example subdomain on my own domain that it shows on, and it does indeed show for the demo site from that article. Now, since my extension is brand new, when you go to install it, Chrome might show a warning until it gets a reputation. That is to be expected. The extension is open source if you want to check it out yourself though, or maybe you want to ask an AI exactly what it does. You could also always install it manually if you want it. I will point out that you might notice it says it needs permission to read and change data on all sites, but it's not as scary as that sounds. It's because it needs to know all the domains you're visiting to know whether or not to show the warning, obviously. And then technically when it shows the banner, it's changing the site to add it. In any case though, the extension does not collect or store any info besides whatever domains you choose to whitelist. And it also runs purely locally, so it doesn't send any data anywhere or even make any connections. So it's super basic. I really just wanted it for my own use, but it does get the job done. So check it out if you want. Again, I'll put the link in the description, and you can also leave a review if you feel so inclined, or you can just let me know what you think down in the comments. Like maybe you use Firefox and you're just gonna enable that other setting. We could talk about that down there. And of course, I'd appreciate a thumbs up on the video too. Thanks again to Ugreen for sponsoring, and be sure to check out the Ugreen NASSync DH2300 through the link in the description and use the code for 15% off. Now, if you want to keep watching, next up, here's a video where I talk about why it's absolutely impossible to ever run out of QR codes, even with infinite time. So I'll put that link right there you can click on. And if you want to subscribe, I try to make videos about twice a week, so it should be worth it. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.